Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Technical Area Insider. Today we have Brandon Bonilla from Nebraska Wesleyan University men's soccer program. This is a Division III program in Nebraska. They compete in the American Rivers Conference. Coach Bonilla shares his story about coming to Nebraska and how he arrived in his position, as well as some of the traits he looks for in players and building a culture in his program. Hopefully you enjoy this episode. Please make sure you follow along on Instagram at Technical Area Insider and join us for upcoming episodes. All right, and welcome into the Technical Area. I am your host, Michael Doria. I'm very excited for our guest today, Coach Brandon Bonilla. We have him coming to us from Nebraska Wesleyan University. They are the Prairie Wolves, and they compete in the American Rivers Conference, Division III NCAA. Coach Bonilla has previous stops as an assistant, of course, in the program that he's in now at Nebraska Wesleyan, both on the men's and women's side, and then also assistant at the University of Houston, as well as some time with Houston Baptist. And, of course, this comes full circle, Coach, because at one time you were with the University of Nebraska Cornhuskers as well. So welcome into the show. Thanks for taking some time. How are you today?
Oh, I'm great. Thanks for having me. It's always fun to talk soccer, and I don't share my journey too often, so that's always a fun path as well. But yeah, definitely not at the place that I thought I would be at when you pencil this out as a kid, right?
Right. Well, that's part of the excitement, right, of being a coach. You never know where the world is going to take you. I'm always in awe of coaches, especially at the collegiate level. There's a lot of moving involved. There's a lot of time and personal constraints that get changed. So let's dive into your journey a little bit. Obviously, talk to us a little bit, I guess, about how you got started at the University of Nebraska.
Yeah, it goes back to my undergrad. So I went to Texas A&M, thought about playing in college. Once upon a time, TCU had a men's program, and I had talked to the coach, and he had offered me a spot, but it was a walk-on spot for a Division I program that didn't offer scholarships. And I drove up there in my 1982 GMC truck with wood paneling in the bed, and I saw BMW, Mercedes, and I was like, I don't know if this is the right fit. I think in hindsight, had I known I was going to become a college soccer coach, I would have said, yep, this is worth it because it adds to the resume. But at the time I wanted to do engineering, and I thought, well, I'll go to Texas A&M. They've got a good program. Long story short there, I ended up taking a coaching of soccer class, and the SID, Kurt Magnuson, has been there forever now, was my professor. And I just asked him, do you guys have any jobs? And he goes, well, here's the head coach's number. And so I called him and left him a message in early January, heard nothing, as you would. And so you just kind of, all right, well, that's probably not it. And then middle of February, I got a phone call that went to my voicemail, and it just said, hey, this is Coach G. Guerreri. If you're still interested in working for the team, we'd love to have a conversation. So I went over to the soccer complex, became a manager for them during undergrad, stayed on, did play-by-play and color commentary, and then began working their summer camps back in '03 was my first year to start doing that with them. I have met some incredible people because of it. One of those guys was a guy named Wally Crittenden, who was the assistant coach at Nebraska. He had come back into town, and I used to trade my truck out for my parents' van and play chauffeur to everybody in the summer. And so we're driving out, and he's like, hey, what are you up to now? I go, looking for a job unless you have one. He goes, well, actually, we're going to need a new volunteer assistant. I go, my resume will be under your door when you wake up in the morning. And so couple big phone calls later, a guy by the name of Rich Hardis used to be the youth U18 Academy Director of Goalkeeping for United. And when they won the Champions League, he was on the sideline as the head goalkeeping coach. He had worked these camps and was kind enough to be a reference for me. So Coach Walker called him as well. I met a couple of the players on a mission trip to Belize, and so he talked to them as well. And that's what got me to Nebraska. And so it was, certainly who you know, then it's what you know. So it worked out well in the end.
Yeah, and that's a lot about what we talk about on this show. I always ask coaches to give me some perspective, their perspective on, what it means to have a network and how important that network is as a young aspiring coach. Some people will say, hey, you grind it out and your results will get you the difference and make a difference in terms of where you end up. And other coaches very adamant about growing the network. I know as a coach, when I go to these coaching courses, I love growing my soccer network of coaches and just having people to rely on. What is that experience like for you?
Yeah, look, I did anything and everything I could once I realized that soccer was the way I wanted to go. Much to the chagrin of my mother, who was very not happy that I gave up a six-figure salary to teach kicking a ball. So I get it, right? And it wasn't until like 4 years in, I got to call the Final Four on the women's side back in '05, back before all these networks had picked up women's soccer. And she heard me make those calls, and she said, look, I can hear the passion in your voice. So like, while I don't know about your security in the job because it's based off of 18 to 22-year-olds getting a result, I understand why you're going that way. But the biggest part, right, you have to do both. I'm a firm believer that it is going to be ultimately somebody's going to give you a chance. And if you know a lot more people to put a good word in for you, your chances grow, right? You get more of them. But you don't get those chances if you haven't also done the work. And so I was coaching club kids. I was working for A&M. I played on the club team there. Like I coached the girls club team there. Anything and everything I could do while then also working a day job it started off in a computer industry, and it wasn't for me. And so then one of my players, his father owned a water well company. And so I was like, listen, I'm not afraid of hard work. I'll go dig some water wells and we'll call it a day. And so I was really fortunate to kind of get connected with the right people there to survive. Obviously I had my family to help as well. And then when I moved up here, it became living in the North Bottoms for the people around here, with 5 other roommates, paying $200 and sleeping on terrible mattresses and doing whatever you could to survive. And I was driving to Omaha to coach club. That was my revenue stream, and would do training with them in the 6 to 8 in the morning. We had staff meeting at 5:15. Get out on the field, and then I'd spend the rest of the day getting up to Omaha and coaching little kids. And it was all great, and it led me to the University of Houston Baptist, now Houston Christian, who our football the Huskers played earlier this year. Yeah. But it wasn't without hiccups along the way, and trying to make sure that you are doing the right things and you're listening to people's feedback. And I think the best piece of advice I ever got was actually from Coach Walker. I had he had asked me to put together a session, and I did. And he goes, hey, let's talk about it. And as I got there, he goes, okay, now take the emotion out of it. He goes, it's hard to do, but like, we're just talking about the subject. This isn't you're a bad coach. It's not you're a great coach. It's just here's what we like. Here's what we think can get better. And if you look at things from that perspective, then I think it really allows you to understand how to grow, because ultimately we all want to defend the fact that we're decent at our job, right? So it's one of those that sometimes it's hard, right?
Yeah, balancing that emotion for sure is something that's part and parcel of the job. Obviously, you're extremely passionate about the position you have now, and so talk to us a little bit about the transition from becoming an assistant coach to a head coach. How did you know you were ready?
I don't know if you ever do. I don't know if I'm ready now. I've been
in you. So.
Well, yeah. I got lucky for sure. I think it comes down to, the people that are kind of on your resume, right? Like the people that you learn from and grow from. I've been really privileged to have some pretty awesome people in my life at the right time. And Texas A&M and G. Guerreri, he's one of the winningest coaches in Division I women's soccer. and the way he's built a program there is different than anything else I've ever seen. He did a great job of hiring really smart people to run different aspects of it so that he could do what he's passionate about, and that's growing the program. I mean, you don't have an average of 2,000 fans for a women's college soccer game anywhere else, and he's done it for 2 decades. So to be a part of that and see that was really interesting. And then on the flip side, I came to Nebraska, the other program at the time in the Big 12 that had won equal number of championships, right? Yeah. So, like, I'm talking about 2 guys that have won. Started the programs and have done. And the crazy stat, at least at the time, and I haven't looked this up in a while, but I think it was behind North Carolina and maybe Portland, or UCLA, it was somebody on the West Coast. Nebraska had sent the 3rd most women to the professional level and also won a bunch. And I'm looking at the A&M style was very team focused. It was, let's get the best players we can in the recruiting world. Let's put the best team together. And a lot of times you saw freshmen and sophomores beating out juniors and seniors. And then you get to Nebraska, and it was so individually driven. You have to be able to master these technical skills to get on the field and play. And both translated to a lot of wins. And so it was easy for me to go, well, I really like this. I'm going to cherry pick that from you. And I really like this, so I'm going to take that from you. And then kind of smash your whole thing together yourself. And so the thing that I try to do here is hire great assistants that are going to do the job better than I am. And then at the same time, can I manage games and make sure that we're getting through all of the today stuff that we have to do. But ultimately, I got to kind of put all of that together at HBU, and Misty was phenomenal and let me coach however I wanted. She trusted me. She understood what I was going after. And I got to kind of put it all out there. And in 4 years, we won a title and got to play A&M in the first round of the national tournament the year they went to the Final Four. Didn't go as we had hoped, but as expected, probably. But to play in front of that environment, I mean, obviously I'm partial because I'm an alum, but I'm coaching, and they've got an All-American center back, and I'm talking to Misty, and I'm pointing out there, and I was like, we need to not press them when it goes to her. We need to wait till it goes to the other girl, then go. And somebody in the stands behind me goes, yeah, keep pointing. I think that'll help. And I couldn't turn around because I wanted to laugh. But I was like, I mean, you're not wrong.
You got a lesson right there.
Yeah. So, it was great. And then that, at the time I had, when I was at Nebraska, I had met a girl and started dating her who was in dental school at UNMC. I went down to Houston. We stayed together, got married. She got into school for ortho school down in Texas. She had gotten out and was ready to kind of come back this way. Her family's from South Dakota. And I said, listen, sweetheart, I may not be the doctor in the family, but I'm smart enough to know we should follow your career and not mine. It's my favorite joke that she hates. And so we moved back this way, not knowing what was going to happen. I didn't have a job. I had called Tudor, who was the coach at the time, and just said, hey, actually, I'll give you the full story that nobody knows. I applied for the assistant job here. And as you do when you're applying, you apply for every place. And this is no different for people looking for jobs, or we see it all the time in the recruiting world. Yeah. And you're not going to change your cover letter every time. You're going to change a few pieces to make it fit, and you're going to change some acronyms along the way. And I get a call from my buddy and yours, Jeff Weller. And Jeff goes, hey, do you know why you're not going to get the job? And I was like, no, what? What do you mean I'm not going to get the job? Like, I go, very arrogantly, mind you, not okay. But I'm like, there can't be that many people with my resume applying for this job. Like, there just can't be. And he goes, yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with that. And I was like, what? And he goes, go look at your cover letter. You put the wrong acronym. And I go, there's no chance. sure enough, I had a conversation with UNO at the time, and I had a conversation with NWU at the time, and one place on there,
Both
I
in
missed it.
Nebraska.
And so I didn't get the job. Well, it turned out we were coming up here anyway. I had a conversation with Tudor, who again had no reason to reach out to me, but called me and said, "Look, this happens. Don't feel bad." Because as soon as I learned, I sent him a letter and was like,
Yeah.
"Biggest mistake of my life. Like I'm mortified. I'm sorry that I wasted your time. Like." No excuses. It shouldn't ever happen. I apologize and I'm sorry. And he called me and I was having coffee with my wife and I was like, I need to take this. And he's like, look, I wanted to bring you in anyway. I was told we've already brought people in. We can't bring you. I said, okay, nope, I get it. So I call him back later, said, hey, we're coming anyway. You need a volunteer. I had already worked it out with a club up in the Omaha area to work for them. And so we started piecing it together. And somebody else played a much bigger role in this than I ever could. And before I stepped foot on, the guy that had gotten hired left with his buddy, and he asked if I wanted to be the full-time guy. I said yes. After a year, he left for another program. They took that as an opportunity to split the programs because I was the first ever full-time assistant. I lobbied for the girls' side, in fact, and they said, the guys want you on their side. And I'm like, but I can go out tomorrow and bring in a class that's going to compete. Like, I know this world. No, we really want you to think about the guys' side. And I said, well, I kind of need a job. The guys are fun. All right, let's give it a go. And it's actually been one of the best surprises of my career in the change. So no complaints from my side.
8 years ago, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Eight
exactly.
seasons in. And so, yeah, that's an incredible tenure, right, for college coaches these days. And so tell me a little bit about stepping into that role and what you love about being at Nebraska Wesleyan.
Yeah, I think there's always hiccups going from an assistant to a head coach because, one, a lot of the players were recruited by the previous coach. In fact, all of them were because I had gotten there in the summer. So getting them to buy into what I'm doing. And I've said this to numerous people. Tudor and I see the game very similarly. How we get there is different. And so getting to those little pieces, obviously, that takes a little time. And COVID put a wrench in everybody's life, as it did this program. But when COVID hit, we went down to 17 players. Of those 17, 4 were goalkeepers. 2 were injured. We played an 8-game season with 2 subs. It was wild. And, we went, I think, 2-4, and we COVIDed out our last 2 games because a couple guys on the team had gotten it. So it was a weird season, but it was also the turning point in our program here under me. It fast-tracked what we needed to get accomplished, and that was get the culture right. I think winning is a byproduct of the culture and how you do things. And it takes time to get that established, especially in the college world where you're inheriting whatever you get when you take over. And so we gave them a choice. We said, look, we can coach every game as if we're trying to win and we understand what that looks like. Or we can worry about getting the culture piece right and setting the foundation for the future. And let's see what that looks like. And unanimously, they said, let's do that. And that was kind of the building block that got us to where we are now. And it's been fun. I mean, over the last few years, we've won back-to-back double-digit win seasons for the first time since 2007, 2008. We got regionally ranked for the first time since, I think, 2001. Played our first ever regionally ranked match here against another team that was as well. And we made our first conference tournament final ever last year. So while we came up a goal short, they're all building blocks to hopefully get us to where we want to go. And it's a big credit to the team. It's a big credit to that 17 that kind of helped put us on this trajectory. And then it's a massive credit to all the guys that have come in and bought into the system that we're trying to do. And it's not easy. And every coach, I think, across the planet in every discipline will tell you that if the locker room's going in the right direction, it's a lot more fun and it's a lot easier to win games. So That's
right?
the biggest piece here is you got to get that right first.
Yeah, and I guess so. Let's dive in just a little bit, not a ton, but into the tactics piece of it. I never want coaches to reveal the secret sauce, right? But I also, do you subscribe to the philosophy of this is a system and this is how we're going to play, and we're going to teach the players to play in the system, or do you look at your talent as a whole, coach, and say, you know what, we're better in a three back, or we're better, we're better with four at the back? How do you evaluate that in your role?
Yeah, so I think it's changed. When I was in the Division I world and I could give you a scholarship and say, hey, I value you at this to play this position and I'm going to recruit the way I want to, do you want to come here? A lot of times you get a yes, right? Like certainly there are no's along the way, but it's, I think, an easier sell when you can say, look, your school's now going to cost you X because of your athletic ability. At the Division III world, everybody's on the same academic, well, not the same, but you're on an academic scholarship that gets you here. And while Wesleyan does a really good job of that, it's not the same thing. So now the same players are stacking up all their options against other people as they would. And so for me, our team's superpower is the ability to play in multiple formations. The reason for that is we have a style of play, and it's possession with a purpose. It doesn't do us any good to swing the ball 8 times across the back to go nowhere. It also doesn't help us to smash it up the field if we're not going to go join them. So we want to possess and get numbers up, but we can do that in any formation. And so it just so happens we have a strong back three this year that we can play in a 3-back. Last year we played in a 4-5-1. The year before we were in a 4-4-2. The year before that we were in a 4-3-3, right? So again, we're going to teach the principles of the game, but the formation can adapt and help us not just tactically from does this match what we have talent-wise, but we also this year alone have played in 4 different formations based on who we were playing and how we can solve that problem. And we need to be better on set pieces if we're being completely honest, but run of play goals, we're not giving up too many, which is a positive.
Well, you touched on something that I've learned a lot over the last couple of years, and that is the incredible value of Division III soccer. I think in our country, it's a message I preach to all of our players at the club level. Talk to me a little bit about the power of Division III. I think there are incredible teams across the entire country. That you mentioned the academic piece. When we talk about being a student athlete, I don't think anything represents more the definition of student athlete than Division III. Talk to me about how that lands with you and what you love about being in that program.
Yeah. So my philosophy as a coach from the student athlete perspective has been the same across the board. You are a student first. It doesn't matter if you're at Texas A&M, Nebraska, or Nebraska Wesleyan. You're going to college to get a degree. Now, there are a couple exceptions, right? The one and dones in men basketball that are going to go to the NBA, and the guys that are going to play 3 years in football and leave. Outside of that, everybody else, the money-making window is not super big. And so are you doing the things that are going to help you succeed in life? And so we're really proud of our guys here. For every year that I've been here, we've won the academic award. We have a cumulative 3.35 GPA right now. We are able to recruit really talented athletes and academic scholars. We had our first academic All-American in goal last year since 2015. And Zach Weiss has gone on to get a postgraduate scholarship, and then he is now at Harvard Law. We've had multiple guys go on to dental school from here in my time. And so not to mention accountants and construction management and business and all the other ones as well. Yeah. But to think that the academic rigors are the same is a little misleading, because I think when you think D1, everybody thinks, oh, they're going to school for their sport. Well, they are, and there are some demands of that more so than they would be here. But at the same time, if you're, my humble opinion is that if I'm doing my job as a coach, I'm preparing you for life. So you're going to do the work in the classroom and get good grades and do the things there. We're going to win games on the soccer field, and we're going to train really hard to try to do that. And then you're also going to put in some time in some community service areas, and we're going to grow you as a human. So when you leave, you're just a good member of society. Because at some point, whether you're the greatest athlete of all time and you're, Messi or Ronaldo playing into your 40s, or you're not, your career is done and you have to do something with the other half of your life or more.
Right.
What does that look like? And so it's been really fun here recruiting people that are like-minded from hey, the grades are just as important. And so I don't have to worry about that as a coach. We don't have a mandatory study hall. We have a wonderful Cooper Center that is kind of a community learning center. It's got free tutoring. It's got the ability for you to get peer-edited reviews for your papers and things like that. We just send you there for 4 weeks, 3 hours on your schedule. And then if your grades slip, we'll send you back for a prolonged time. That's very rare here, and it's really nice to see that side of things.
Well, that's a testament to the quality of candidates you have coming in and the recruiting you're doing. Let's talk briefly about recruiting, Coach. I'm a player out in the world. Maybe can you give some general advice? I know we'll have parents tuning into this podcast about, maybe this is their first time with a kid that has a potential to go play collegiate sports. What is your advice as a coach, but not only generally as athletes are out there looking for programs, but also maybe specifically what you look for? I know you mentioned culture and academics, but maybe share some of your wisdom here over the years in terms of the recruiting process.
Sure. I think the most important thing for everybody to understand is no is not a bad word. No is all a part of the process, because I might want Christian Pulisic to come play for me and he's going to tell me no, right? Yeah. You might want to play for me and I tell you no, right? No is just a part of figuring out where the right fit is. So I think so many people and players get turned off because maybe when you were 12, Creighton was like, oh, there's a lot of potential in you. And so now all your hopes and dreams are set on one school. And when you're 16, maybe that's not the same school. Maybe it's a new coach. Maybe it's their needs are different. And so I think being open to understanding that no is okay. It just means that's not the right fit. Let's go find the next one. That would be the biggest piece of advice I could give anybody, because we're all recruiting the same, 100,000 kids in that age group. They're not going to all fit in the same place. So that's a big piece. The other, I think every coach is so different in what they want. Some recruit specifically to a position, some recruit to the team and best talent. For me, I love a two-footed soccer player. I've got young kids, and the only thing I drill into their head in the backyard is right side, right foot, left side, left foot. I can't tell you how many times we get ourselves into trouble because I have to cut it back to my favorite foot. If you don't have to be great with it, but you have to be useful so that the defender has to play you straight up. Because if you are a really talented lefty that can't go right, I'm just going to stand on your left foot and make you give me the ball. Right? And it's those little concepts that I think we see all the finesse and all the tricks and all the worldy goals and the bikes and all the fun stuff. But those people that are giving you the fun stuff that we're watching are also unbelievable at the little things. And so that's where I think we miss the mark sometimes as youth coaches is, we have pressure too, right? Mom and dad are mad when Susie doesn't play and Billy isn't getting goals. And so you try to cater to a little bit of everything. But the discipline and fundamentals, if you can be a solid fundamental player, you will get so many more opportunities than anybody else.
I love that, and we try and drill that home at a young age, and it gets away from everybody pretty quick. I know you've got to go, Coach, here soon because I know you got to get on the road. Let's just talk about one other thing at the end here. You are, you're coming off of a big win here with your program over the weekend, a come from behind win. Certainly got some momentum going. Talk to us just briefly here about the future, the next little bit here as we get into the business end of the season for the Prairie Wolves.
Yeah, so last year we finished fourth in the league. We lost in the opening three matches to the teams that finished 1, 2, and 3. Kind of had a come to Jesus moment, if you will, with the team, and they bought into, okay, let's fix a couple things. And we gave up one goal to finish out conference and 4 shutouts and put ourselves in fourth and made it to the final, beating the number 1 seed in the shootout in the semis. We are hoping to be better than that this year. We drew with Loris, thought we had outplayed them. Not always how the game goes, but they're really good at what they do, and they put one away early and made it hard for us. But that's 1 point more than we had last year. So as we continue to talk with the team, going on the road is never easy. This was only the second time in program history that we've won at Simpson. First time since 2012, I believe, was the stat I saw. So again, it's another step in the right direction, but there's a lot of season left. That's a game that if you want to be in the top, you have to win. We go to, we've got a non-conference midweek that we're about to leave for, and it'll be a good test as well, but also a chance to stretch some legs and hopefully get a couple guys healthy. And then we go to Dubuque on the weekend. Their record is deceiving. They have not won a game, but they just tied Luther 1-1 and took the lead. Luther is the perennial number 1 in our conference. Sure. And so we've got to go on the road there and take care of business. We're very capable. I think we're in the conversation talent-wise for top of the group, but you've got that game, and then you've got a really big game at home against Wartburg, who beat you in the final last year, and we've got a little revenge on the mind, but can't get to that one until we get through these two. So all eyes on this. But if the way the schedule has set up this year, without having the top 3 on the first 3 games, allows you to potentially maybe grow and get some momentum going into those bigger matches. But we're excited, and ultimately we've got to finish top 6, make it into the tournament, and see if we can make a little noise and win it and go to the national tournament. That's the ultimate prize.
Well, we're rooting for you. I appreciate your time. Obviously, I'd love to have you back. There's plenty more to talk about. We'd love to have you back on. In the meantime, get on that bus. Good luck this week, and thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you again.
Go P.